Hey guys, welcome to Chazz Says Anything. This is episode 10, Life Without NFL Football. Yeah, there's more, but the NFL will be back before you know it. All right, so if you like what you see or hear, click the subscribe button. I have a new subscribe button on the bottom right corner, bottom hand right corner. Okay, just want to say, last week on Thursday I was a little under the weather. I just wanted to get my Super Bowl picks out, a Super Bowl recap out. I apologize for all the stopping and going, and it wasn't a good broadcast, but it's still a broadcast. Hopefully today will be a new day and a new podcast. So I got no guests with me today, so I'll start off with my Black History Month topic that I kind of wanted to do last week and I forgot to do. So, yeah, obviously a lot of people know it was the 50th anniversary of hip hop. If you saw the Grammys, you watched it. It was pretty cool. I enjoyed it. I wish other people were there for other reasons, but they obviously have their reasons for not being linked with the Grammy Awards. There was an article in USA Today from Shree Curry and Cheryl Smith. I don't know why that's flipping out. I'm not even touching anything. So they talk about when they first heard hip hop was their senior year in 1977. When I first heard it, hip hop, I'd have to say my early years in Eatontown, New Jersey, probably about 1985, 86. I listened to Run DMC. I heard Salt and Pepper. And the first Salt and Pepper I heard was Push It. Yeah. That Push It was the first song I heard from Salt and Pepper. Although, if a lot of people of my era know Push It, we didn't hear Push It on the radio. We heard something else. I'll leave it at that. So, I mean, obviously, a lot of big hip hop, started, in the 70s with a lot of different guys in the New York area. They talk about NWA. They talk about Public Enemy, obviously Chuck D and Flavor Flav. I remember these guys. The Human Beatbox. Anybody remember the Fat Boys? Prince Marky D, Cool Rockski, and Buff Love, who was the Human Beatbox. I love those guys. They were really cool. That was a really cool group. They didn't have that many hits, but they were really cool. DJ Eric B and Markeem. That was a hard nosed rap. I remember back in the late 80s when I was listening to the hip hop and rap. My Catholic school days, 7th, 8th grade at St. Jerome's, and then my early high school years, freshman and sophomore years at Christian Brothers Academy. This is what I was listening to. I was probably the only kid at CBA listening to this. This was my area of Eatontown that we were all listening to it. Queen Latifah. Don't remember this guy, Sean XLG Mitchell. Oh, he wrote books. So there's Queen Latifah. New Jersey hip hop. Oh wow, why am I forgetting the hip hop hooray guys? Wow, it'll come back to me. Yeah, hip hop hooray. Those are the New Jersey guys that Naughty by Nature. Duh, Naughty by Nature. Those were the guys that we were listening to. I love my hip hop. It's part of my music that I listen to on a daily basis. This is part of our culture now, our pop culture. If you don't like it, you're missing out. And I know it's not for everybody, but hip hop is a legit musical genre, and you can't nobody tell me any different. I'll tell you right now. So That's there of basketball. Jason Tatum earned his first career NBA All-Star MVP with a record-breaking performance. Yeah, he scored, I think over 50 points. I mean, this is, I will say, I didn't really watch it. And then I saw the halftime show. I was really turned off on. I didn't know any of the performers, so I just didn't watch. What I did watch, which I was definitely curious about, and if y'all saw this before, watch the NBA a little bit, the way that they did the live draft. In the last couple of years, I think they did it online, and that was fun to an extent. This live draft was interesting. I mean, yeah, if you watched it a little bit, Giannis, I can't call him Giannis Antetokounmpo made a mistake. He actually went to pick one of his starters in the reserve draft. That was hysterical because then that's where we saw LeBron put his hands up. Like, oh, I know where you're going with this. It was kind of funny. It was to see this type of GM, but yet they're players. That was fun. And it turned out Giannis didn't even play more than a minute. He hurt his wrist, so he was basically done. I should have expected that. You're drafting the players and you're going to let them play. And then LeBron played, I think, of the first half, but the second half he hurt himself and he was done. So these old guys, this might be LeBron's last year. 20 years in the NBA, and he's 38 years old. 20 years. Unless if he plays one more year because he wants to get a super team with him, I get it. But that it is what it is there. So with the All-Star game itself, Jason Tatum obviously wins MVP. Team Giannis beat Team LeBron. Now, LeBron, if anybody cared or cares, he was actually 5-0 as a team captain. This was his first loss. So not that I was rooting against him, but I was rooting for Giannis to win. It was time for somebody else to win an All-Star game. And they actually won. The score was 184 to 175. They actually had, I think you got to go to a certain amount of points per quarter. At least it's what it looked like to me when I was going in and out, because I was watching something else. It was just that I was more interested in what was coming on A&E, and I'll talk about that a little later. There's something on A&E last night that started up again that was on last year. A&E is Arts and Entertainment Network. It's one of my favorite networks because of what they put on, on screen. So, all right, I'm done with that screen. So let me go to here. MLB creates an economic reform committee in wake of Mets spending and Bally regional sports networks in financial turmoil. Really? So we're going to create a committee because the Mets spent over $400 million for this year. George Steinbrenner is probably rolling over in his grave right now. I don't understand the necessity for this. Now, there is a athletic report on this from Evan Dralich. It's an article from yesterday from Port St. Lucie. In the wake of Steve Cohen's spending and the financial turmoil of Bally Regional Sports Networks, Major League Baseball has started a quote-unquote economic reform committee. Less than a year after MLB and the Players Association came to an agreement to end the 2021-22 lockout, the committee's formation emphasizes that some MLB owners are unhappy enough that they want to discuss major change. Wow. He's spending more than us. Seriously, I as a blue collar guy, I don't like these owners that are talking about this. And God help me if my owner is one of them. I hope Steinbrenner's not like that. I pray to God that the Steinbrenners are more on his side than they are on these $100 million and less teams that, we can win on team spirit. Okay, right. You need a little talent, and you got to pay talent. Let's be real. So it goes on. Manfred said some stuff about, it came out of recognition of a couple issues, and one new and one old, that were particularly acute for us, quote unquote. The new ones, the local media situation. I think that people see the opportunity to rethink the revenue side of the house a little bit, which has been hard on our sport. People entrenched in the local media dynamics. Now, this I really didn't know about, and that's a little curious. So, let's see. Diamond Sports Group is a parent company of 19 Bally channels, which carry 14 Major League Baseball teams. Well, Yankees and Mets are not one of those, I'll tell you right now. The company appears headed for bankruptcy. If that's the case, MLB hopes to be in a position to distribute these teams' games digitally. So, interesting how these Bally sports channels are going under. What did they put their money into that they're going under so recently? Major League Baseball, it's not football, but they bring in big bucks. I mean, they're in the hundreds of millions. What are we not seeing here? What was Diamond Sports Group doing that they can't now make money? It's a bad look that MLB has to get into this. It's disturbing, and let's put it this way: if MLB is going to get involved in this, let's make it a little cheaper for the little guy like me to be able to afford to watch these other games if I want to. Put it on Amazon, put it on Peacock, put it on a streaming service that most people have. Okay, I get not putting it with the locals, although yes, and SNY are going to get for like the Yankees and Mets are going to get most of that. I don't know who else, like Boston or Philly. They probably have their own networks as well. But who else does? Dodgers. I don't think the Texas Rangers do, and they got some big people that they're paying for. There's some good talent all over the place. Seattle, Chicago, both teams. St. Louis. St. Louis has been big for decades. I hope that they can be seen. They have a good team. Tampa, they got a great team from time to time. What they need is a new stadium. MLB needs to get involved in that somehow, because that stadium's a joke. That's for another day. I don't want to go 20 minutes on that. Not much more on that, but yeah, league has ordered studies for economics in the past. In 2000, under Bud Selig, I don't want to talk about him. The league famously published a Blue Ribbon report, which included input from individuals and outside the ownership ranks, including former Senate Majority Leader George Mitchell. Oh yeah, we know George Mitchell. If you're a baseball fan, you remember Mitchell. And that's another thing with Big Papi, and we won't even go there. All right. So, saw a thing in Mets camp, notes from Mets camp on how the club views its prospects and designated hitter platoon. That's interesting for me because, their DH you'd think would be pretty solid. I mean, I don't have the roster up right now, and I'm not screwing with my computer. But the Mets spent $400 million on quality players, quality team. They got a good roster. They got a good lineup. Their lineup's probably top 5 in the whole Major League Baseball. I wouldn't worry too much, Mets fans. It's early, and obviously spring training is a whole, and World Baseball Classic a whole different thing. But expect a high number for me for Mets this year. I'm already thinking in the high 90s for Mets. I'll work on that when we get closer to start of the season. Since I have this venue now that I can actually project if I want to, that's what I'm going to do. I'm actually going to have projections on every baseball team, all 30 teams. And obviously, I think next year will be 32. So, but that's next year. So, I think the Mets prospects that especially Beatty, the Mets are not letting this guy go. Everybody on the inside's telling Cohen, can't let this kid go. Stick him at third, keep him at third, let him work it out. He could be a different type of David Wright, So, I mean, I'm not worried. I think the Mets theoretically could be better than the Yankees to start. I mean, I think we'll be right up there, and I'll get into that right now. We got why DJ LeMahieu and the young Yankees infielders may hold the key to the team's 2023 season. I hope that's the case. Whoever wrote the article, I hope you're right. I hope there is a consortium of youth and DJ LeMahieu, and then we can flip and figure out the outfield. I'm worried about left field and keeping Aaron Hicks on the team. And Josh Donaldson. I mean, obviously he's the cog that clogs that infield. You stick DJ at third base, he'd probably be a Gold Glove third baseman if you stick DJ there. We'll see what happens. I mean, I'm obviously not Aaron Boone. Would I love to be? Yes, but I'm not too worried about our team. Will Aaron hit? Our captain hit another 62 home runs? Possibly not. Although, if you think about it this way, he essentially could go for more. Why not? You're in your prime. Hopefully, he doesn't hurt his batting average, and that's what he really should be working on. His total, and this is a big thing for obviously everybody. His WAR, his wins against replacement. Well, that's what he needs to be working on. That's what he needs to constantly work through. If he wants to be better than DJ, and I'm not talking about LeMahieu, he wants to be better than DJ. He wants to be the better captain. He wants to be the face of the Yankees now that he's got the money from the Yankees. Do what you got to do to get the ring, get multiple rings, become the face, maybe even though there's really no room, get your statue out in front of Yankee Stadium. Like they have in LA, like they have in St. Louis, like they have everywhere else. I mean, I know in Yankee Stadium you can't really fit a statue, let alone parking. It's not the easiest thing in that stadium. Citi Field, you could probably do a couple. Obviously, they got Seaver. They probably could put David Wright out there if they wanted to. But comparing Citi Field to Yankee Stadium is a different thing that I've talked about before, and I'm sure I'll talk about again. But yeah, I'm not too worried about the infield as long as Josh Donaldson's not part of this infield. All right. So, obviously, the big thing with NFL offseason right now, at least in this area, is Derek Carr. And as someone put it online, Derek Carr is a fascinating domino. Where Derek Carr goes, things will turn one after another. I truly think, and I've heard this today in for and against, and I think he already had his, Derek Carr had his meeting with the Jets today. If I were the Jets, I wouldn't have let him out of the building. I think Derek Carr should be that quarterback in the quarterback room, helping out whatever his name is, the number two quarterback from last year, the year before that, can't do anything. Hasn't done anything. Let's say, and I can't say can't do anything, but he hasn't done anything. He needs to learn from somebody who actually can throw a ball. And that will back up his back. When you win a Super Bowl 10 years ago, that doesn't mean that's the guy you want to learn from. 36, 37-year-old who doesn't have the arm that he used to. Derek Carr he's in his early 30s. He can throw a ball. He had no team. Derek Carr had the worst defensive and special teams team last year. The worst. I mean, you remember Derek Carr? I mean, you remember David Carr? I think that's his brother. Played for Houston. That Houston team had the same team. David Carr couldn't get out of his own way. Derek Carr is falling in that same trap because he's with these teams. Derek Carr needs to go to the Jets. The Jets have the number 5 defense last year. Number 5. They're probably better than the Bills. I mean, which is amazing to say, but they were really good. He's going to get opportunities if he plays with the Jets to score. And I'll tell you right now, they're going to draft a wide receiver, whether it be first round or second round. The Jets. It would be stupid not to. With this wide receiver core, which I'll go over the next. Let's see, the draft is in April. Combine's in a couple weeks. I'll probably be talking about the combine, if not this week, next week, and if not next week, the week after. So the fact that Derek Carr, if he does go to the Jets, where do the rest of them go? So I'm curious on the Aaron Rodgers situation. I don't watch Pat. I always want to call him Pat Summit, but it's Pat something else. The WWE guy that's on ESPN on Saturday mornings for college. He's on his podcast as exclusively, and what he told us last week, that he was going in this black hole for 4 days. The Jets shouldn't wait for him. Like I said, get Carr and get it done. I think Aaron, in turn, would go to the Raiders. And here's why him on the Raiders would be better than Carr. Rodgers has a connection with some of those players, both offense and defense. They'll play for him, and they'll probably draft for him, as opposed to Green Bay never did. And that was bad on Green Bay. I know there are a lot of people that are saying he's going back to Green Bay. He could. But I don't think he's going to retire. That's furthest from his mind. Other guys. So Daniel Jones heard this today, and this is the first thing on the Michael K show. Apparently, as soon as I got in my car, Daniel Jones wants $45 million a year. I'm not saying he shouldn't do it. If I were him, I'd probably say the same thing. But you only got 1 year of really good stats under your belt. You want $45 million on what you did for 1 year, and maybe what you possibly could do in the future. But do you realize if you get paid that much, and then granted you could spread it out here and there and maybe possibly get a few people, you need an offense. You need a running back. You might need a tandem running back because, and I'll get to this in a minute, you may not have Saquon. You're gonna need an offensive line, obviously. And these guys are good. If they stay together, they mesh better, they'll be better. And then what we need, damn, do we need this, is a wide receiver, whether we draft or get a free agent. I as long as it's a top 10 wide receiver, and I'm talking about free agent, I'll take him in a heartbeat. As long as his name is not David Galladay or Joey Galladay, whatever the hell his name is. You get thrown 8 balls over a time and you can't catch one of them. I know rust is an issue, but dude, you want to play in this league, you got to catch the ball. And Saquon, I got a funny feeling he's gone. I hate to say that. It hurts me to say that. It's just another jersey. It's going to burn me because I bought it years ago when he first got drafted. And now, can I wear it since if he's not on our team anymore? Unless we franchise him, and that's going to be like $13 million, which he doesn't want. He wants McCaffrey money, but McCaffrey catches outside the as a wide receiver as well as maneuvers probably better than Saquon. Now, Saquon can run you over. Don't get me wrong. Saquon can run you over. He's a couple shades away from number 22 down in Tennessee. But Saquon, I feel he wants too much, and the Giants aren't going to keep him because they got to pay for other people. They need wide receivers. They need a bunch of them. They at least need 2, maybe 3 frontline guys. And if I'm hoping right, we're probably going to draft a linebacker as for the first time in the first round in a long time, and we're down by 20 or at number 20 or 21. So we're going to draft somebody. Draft the linebacker. I hope. So, all right. I'm sure there's other football guys. We'll get more into the football offseason as it comes. It's going to be weeks on end. I mean, so there's going to be WBC. There's going to be a lot. So let me talk about this for a second. So it's going to be WWE talk, but it's not really about Raw, SmackDown, or NXT. So what I was watching last night on A&E Network, they have this thing called it's basically showcasing WWE superstars throughout history, the WWE, WWF history. And what they showed last night, which I didn't know a lot of because I didn't watch a lot of WCW back then, they showed the NWO. And they talked about Kevin Hart, and Scott Hall, Hulk Hogan, and tons more. I mean, I didn't realize how big NWO really was. And then they factioned off. Hell, the Big Show, when he was the Giant, was in this. In WCW. I mean, it's. I have 2 comments. Okay. Chazz in the house, and I want to draft. Oops, let me get back to my banners. Appreciate the story. Oh, you want to draft beer? Gotcha. Yeah, I don't have any beers down here. Actually, the only thing I do have, dude, is my little cherry Pepsi. So, I appreciate it. Where was it? Okay, WWE talk. So yeah, I wish I had a draft beer, but my Pepsi is my thing right here. So, anywho, so this talk, this WWE talk or this show on A&E Network on Sunday nights at 8 p.m. They have new shows with all these different people, wrestlers that they talked about. It's really going to be interesting. And what besides NWO, which was a total. It was an amazing drama that talks about wrestling in a whole different light. And they start with Bischoff. And you see why he was the most hated guy in that era when it came to, manager, announcer, whatever he was. And to find out he's the one that created the NWO. It was his thoughts. It was his mindset. It was his drive. Go figure. And to become the bad guy that he wanted, the heel that he wanted to be for this, and it worked. Did he cross the line? You'll see. He had a couple lines he probably shouldn't have. And that's like the disturbing part of wrestling that I find disturbing is when you bring in little children. And I'll talk about this more with I also talk with Ray. When Rey Mysterio brought his son and the whole Rey Mysterio, Eddie Guerrero, who's your daddy? I guess click or story. It wasn't. It kind of was gut wrenching when you start playing with little kids' minds and they don't know any better. It's something that I don't believe is a thing you should be doing with them in that type of atmosphere. But that Everything else, I think, is fair game because you're aware of the situation you're in. It's scripted for a reason. This is what they do. It's an adult male, mostly male soap opera. You know, it's been said to me many times that this is a male soap opera, and that's fine. I'll take it as that. That's what I grew up with. That's what I like. So, but in the second part, that was 2 hours in NWO. At 10 o'clock, they did a thing about the history of Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant. Now, I knew about 1984, WrestleMania 3, or 84, 85, WrestleMania 3, when when Hulk picks up Andre the Giant. And then thereafter, where, I knew Andre the Giant and the whole, he got pinned, and Hogan got pinned, and it was a legal pin. They counted to three, but he had already come up, and then he gives it to Ted DiBiase, $1 Million Man, and that was a whole shtick. That was just a story back, and now honestly, that was a way for Hogan obviously he fed into that story to the point of it was real that he felt like he was getting screwed, but that was the story. He got screwed, so Andre can get that championship that he never had. Now that's just of all this that I really didn't know. I know there was a history of Andre the Giant in the past, and he lost, but he usually lost in different types of matches. In a singles match, he didn't lose. How did he not get a championship? It's crazy. But this was the way to give him a championship. And you know what? I get it. It makes more sense now than it ever has. If you look back on it, if you watch that story, it's an interesting story. Wrestling is about stories, and the good ones are ones you want to talk about forever. And that's what these Sunday nights are for me now, especially with A&E with these stories. So, gotta talk about this, and this kind of hurts me a little bit because I did watch this guy for a long time, and I even watched him as a comedian. Law and Order SVU veteran Richard Belzer dies at 78. But the comedian's not so what's this? Not safe for work. Final words will live on. Not sure if you heard about this, but I'll get into it a little bit. So, obviously, with all the deaths in 2023 we've had already, this is pretty heartbreaking. The previous week of SVU last week apparently was where is it? They did a thing with Finn, with Ice-T's character, and Belzer was in a lot of those memories. And now it was first revealed by a longtime friend and fellow comedy icon Lorraine Newman on Twitter. Richard Belzer's death is verified soon after by another friend for many years, Bill Sheft, late night David Letterman writer, sharing the general assessment of Belzer's health situation while also revealing the actor's on-brand last words, according to Sheft. And this is going to be edited, just so you know. I'm not going to quote the entire thing. He said, quote, he had a lot of health issues, and Belzer's last words were F-U-M-F. For all the adults watching, you know what that is. Or actually, it's F-U-M-F-R. Okay? That's what he said. And you know what? Good for him. I know it's probably not going to be good when you're talking to St. Peter at the pearly gates, but I'm curious what that meant to who that was meant to. But Richard Belzer was a great actor, great comedian. Loved him as Munch on SVU. He had, I think he was on for 15 years, on and off. And Ice-T was his partner for most of those years as Finn and Munch. I mean, that could have been a show itself, Finn and Munch. Obviously, NBC just didn't have the time to do that. He reportedly passed away while on his French. This is the funny thing. I don't know if anybody knew. He died in France, in his French home in Bozul. I think I'm saying it right. Bozul. It's a long word. Bozouls. Bozul. I didn't take French. I don't know how to say French words. So yeah, on Twitter, a lot of Twitter, but and they're gonna do something this Thursday. So I think a lot of us, if we're Belzer fans, if we're SVU fans, try to watch for Law and Order on Thursday. They're going to do something for Belzer. That, and I hope that hope they got it. It's a tearjerker because that's what it should be for this guy. I cry. I'll admit it. 46-year-old man, 3 kids. I cry. I cry at weddings. I cry at funerals. I cry at commercials. I cry at heartfelt moments on TV and movies. I've cried at movies. I cried at Titanic. That was 1996. I cried at Titanic. I do cry at other things. I'm saying it because I know my fiance will call me out on it. I cry. That's fine. I'm a sensitive man. I'm not ashamed to say that. So, what other things he was in? Law and Order Trial by Jury in 2005. That's where he started with the Law and Order. He was on The Wire. He was on Arrested Development, Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, 30 Rock. He was on Mad About You. He did a guest spot in 1999. So he was born in 1944 on August 4th in Connecticut. He did start a comedy in the 70s. So he was starting to do comedy in the 70s. Very interesting. So, Richard Belzer, dead at 78. Well, he will be missed. He definitely will be missed. So this came out this weekend, and I hope to see it soon. But it did really well. How well? $104 million weekend gross. $104 million in a weekend. Well, I've yet to see Wakanda Forever too. I'm having my issues with Disney Plus, so I got to see that. But I do want to see Ant-Man and the Wasp. That is going to be an interesting movie. I hope to see that this weekend. Well, let's see other movies that are in theaters. Wow, yeah, Avatar is still up there. $6 million this weekend, has made $657 million gross. Magic Mike's Last Dance. I kind of want to see that, but I think I can wait till it comes on HBO Max or something like that. 5.5 million, 18 million gross. I don't think that's going to be a hit for them. 18 million is not a lot anymore anyway. Number 4, Puss in Boots, The Last Wish. I'll wait for that to come out on Disney or something, and I'm sure my kids will want to see that. That made 5.2 million this weekend, 166 million gross. That's pretty good. That's a good. That's a pretty good number for Disney for a movie. Knock at the Cabin. They're doing okay. They're doing better than Magic Mike. I'll tell you right now. They're 5th, but they're on their way down. 80 for Brady. That movie I want to see. Tom Brady's executive producer debut with, I think, Gronkowski no less too. 80 for Brady. That looked like an interesting movie. I do want to see that, and I hope to be able to talk about that more and more. The rest are movies I don't know, except for this one in 7th place. It actually made 7th place. Titanic, 25th anniversary. They want to see Jack die again. 2.29 million dollars gross, which means there were enough people to go see that movie this weekend. And it's domestic gross. I think it's including what it made 25 years ago. That's my guess. Is over $600 million domestic gross. That's insane. James Cameron, his house must be to the moon. I mean, it's. But who I have the DVD in my DVDs. I'm sure it's somewhere on HBO Max, Paramount, or Peacock. I mean, it's probably somewhere on there. Why do people want to go to the theater to watch it? Unless it's kids who were under the age of 25 and never saw it in a theater. That I buy. But then it's a long movie. I remember when I went to see it, and if Jennifer, my ex-girlfriend, ex-fiance, first one a long time ago, sees this, she'll know and she'll remember. We saw it 4 times. Four times in the theater. In the theater. Of course, that's when it was cheap to go to the theater. Not like now. But we saw it 4 times. I saw it 4 times. That was love. That was whatever. I did what she wanted to do. I made her happy. You know, Titanic. Jack died. You know what? Jack could have survived. Are we wrong? Is anybody in a disagreement with that? She could have brought him on that door. They could have fit. They were both pretty skinny. I 2 fake characters could have survived. She let him die, just so she could see him again 80 years later when they were both all young in heaven on that Titanic. Cute ending. I hope I didn't spoil it for anybody. I know if you haven't seen Titanic now, I can't help the spoilers. It is what it is. All right. I saw this article. 41 minutes. That's not too bad. This article. And a drink. This is quite interesting. Saw this on the Asbury Park Press from writer David P. Willis. Does Central Jersey include both Ocean and Union counties? Quote, this is how wars start. Well, I would say verbal wars. I don't think it's going to be like we're going to be fighting over lines of, domain lines. So he asked someone in Union County, that Union County is part of Central Jersey. Those are fighting words. Quote, this is how wars start. Tapped one commentator on Reddit. So it was a Reddit person who said that. Not not that I don't like Reddit or am on Reddit. I'm not. But I don't take Reddit to heart necessarily. Unless maybe you have a blue check somewhere. Excuse me, what you have to pay for. Man, this Diet Pepsi gets me. Anyway, so a debate about states' demarcation by North, South, and Central has raged for decades. The proposed legislation that's working its way through the halls of Trenton may decide it, at least from a marketing and tourism point of view. Now, I hope people that see this and live in New Jersey pay attention to this. This bill would establish 3 tourism regions in the state for marketing and promotion: Northern, Southern, and Central. Here's Northern, as defined by this possible bill: Sussex, Warren, Morris, Passaic, Bergen, Essex, Hudson counties. If you didn't hear your county, get ready. For South Jersey, Burlington, Camden, Gloucester. That's how you pronounce it, not Gloucester. It's Gloucester. Atlantic, Salem, Cumberland, and Cape May. So those are south. So again, if you didn't hear your county, you're central. But I know some people don't want to be central in some of these counties. That includes Hunterdon, Somerset, Union, Middlesex, Mercer, Monmouth, Ocean. Now, don't get me wrong. Growing up in New Jersey, the only one I thought was there was only 3 counties I thought were central: Middlesex, Monmouth, and Mercer. The 3 M's. That's all that I ever thought was central. Now they're including Hunterdon, Somerset, Union, and Ocean. Ocean? I can't imagine people in Ocean City who are closer to Atlantic City than they are Point Pleasant Beach, want to be considered central. And let's talk about Hunterdon, or Townsend Hunterdon, or Townsend in Union, or Somerset. The Somerset Patriots, are they in the north or the central? I think they're in the north. That's a northern area. I mean, we're expanding central so much when we don't have to. You're going to tell me Monmouth, Middlesex, and Mercer aren't enough for Central Jersey? We have Trenton. We have all of Monmouth and all the beaches in Monmouth County. And Middlesex is mostly industry, and where people live that work in these industries. And New York. Isn't that enough? Why does Central, and I've always been a Central Jersey kid. Central Jersey kid to a Central Jersey man. I grew up here. And I never left anywhere I moved to. I lived in Eatontown. I moved to Lakewood. I actually moved to an outskirt of Lakewood for a little bit. Lived in Neptune. Lived in Lawrence Harbor. Lived in Union Beach. And now I live in Island. I hope I didn't miss any. I might have. Oh, Asbury Park. How did I forget that? Asbury Park. The quintessential Monmouth County beach town. Forgive me, Long Branch. Forgive me, Sandy Hook. Asbury Park is coming back and is the quintessential Central Jersey beach town. And the more they come back, the better it'll be. Long Branch is not the beach town or the family-friendly beach town like Ocean City is in Ocean County. Actually, that could be Atlantic County. I don't even know where they're at. But Central Jersey is central to what we are as Central Jerseyans. That's a thing. People who grew up in Central Jersey, that's a thing. If you don't think so, Google it. I bet you it's on there. I don't know if any other states have this. Obviously, I didn't live anywhere else. I've traveled. I've never lived. I grew up here. This is what I know. And to actually add other counties to be central is disingenuous to us as much as disingenuous to them. Union County is closer to Newark than they are to Sandy Hook. That's north. I don't know. And this is both sides of the aisle. Trenton, I don't know what you're doing. You're playing with fire and you shouldn't be. Leave the 3Ms, and maybe this is what my title should have been. Leave the 3Ms to Middlesex, Mercer, and Monmouth. We're fine as being central. There's no need for it. All right, and this is also this is quintessential to the middle of the 3Ms: Monmouth, Middlesex, and Mercer. Woodbridge crash blocks lane Monday morning. NJDOT. So it was a little blurb on the Woodbridge patch. Can people learn to drive on Monday mornings? This wasn't a planned rant, but you know what? I have to. I have at most a 10-minute drive from 131. Actually, I think it's 130. From 130 to 135. There are two exits in between my exit. And I was lucky. I missed this. I missed this blockage, this crash. I leave my house anywhere between 6:30 and 6:40. I get to work before 7. I don't and I can't be the only one who drives. There's hundreds, if not more, that drive this area on a daily basis. In that area alone, between 6:30 and 7 o'clock, I'd go in even thousands more. Why can't we all be awake and drive correctly? Why do you got to be a moron and crash? Why do you? I mean, and I don't even know. Honestly, I don't know what the crash details are. But this happens every freaking week. Get your coffee, drink it, get caffeine, do something. Don't crash into anything. Period. I'm done with people clogging up my workday, or anybody's workday for that matter. It's frustrating. This is supposed to be an easy drive to get to work every day. This was the reason I wanted to go to this job. And y'all ruined it for me. Absolutely ruined it for me. I'm done with these crashes. I mean, if you're gonna crash near an exit so people can get off. It's a little greedy of me to think that way, but I'm sorry. The people in this area need to learn to drive. Do it for yourselves. Do it for your families. Do it for the cops that actually don't want to deal with this. And do it for the other drivers who just want to go to work, get there on time, do their job, and go home. All right. So I guess I had this before the other thing. Got a beach town that actually made the top 50 of best rated beaches in America. You know which one it was? Can anybody guess? I know nobody's on right now. That's fine. It wasn't in Monmouth County. And I mentioned it before. Ocean City, New Jersey made number 47 out of all the beaches in America. And there's a ton in California, a ton in Florida, and more than a few in Hawaii that are on this list. And this is the only New Jersey beach town. Got a total score of 52.2. Let's see the score above. 51.7 was to 48. So it wasn't a high score. Obviously, it's a failing score if you're in school. Affordability rank. This isn't good. How is a beach town this expensive? They're number 113th out of all the beach towns. 113. That's expensive. Weather rank 112. Well, they are near the water. I mean, they get hurricanes. I mean, it does happen. Safety rank 20. Well, yeah, it's Ocean City's a blue town. If I'm saying it right, it's an alcohol-free town. It should be higher than 20. Economy rank 71. Well, they're a summer town. I'd say 70 to 80% of their income comes between May and December and Labor Day. Education and health rank 106. Not great. I mean, I can't imagine there's actually a school there other than maybe an elementary school. I have to think that their school system is probably somewhere in the other areas of that area. You know, they share high schools. And quality of life rank is 24. So interesting how health is 106, but your quality of life is 24. I that's an interesting difference in rank. But Ocean City, from what I remember, is a beautiful town. Yeah, I would love to go there more. It's an hour ride from where I live at the moment. And honestly, I'd rather, like I said before, I'd rather go back to Asbury Park. I love Asbury Park. You know, if I could afford a home there, win the lottery, live by the water, that would be my lottery wish list right there. I tell you right now, and live in a nice Asbury Park condo or house that's by the water. Or move to Florida like everybody else does. Although that's probably not happening, but you know, we'll talk about that down the years from now, I'm sure. Okay, so I do have a feel good story to close it out. Real quickly, Made from Love. This came from the Asbury Park Press as well. From Jerry Carino, was the writer. And I'll read a little bit of it. Excuse me. This woman out of Tom's River. Last month, right after her mother died, Judy Constantino was the recipient of a surprise delivery at Royal Beauty Supply in Tom's River, where she works as a manager. It was a bag full of handmade blankets crocheted by a 94-year-old Tom's River resident, Rosa. Oh, I should have read this name before I talk to you guys. Yakamuk. I think that's Jakimjuk. Rosa Jakamuk. They're made beautifully, Constantino said. It was so sweet for every company. Constantino gave to her 83-year-old father and one to her sister who lives with her and has Down syndrome. Her colleague, Allison Cunduff, gave one to her own mother who lives in assisted living. Rosa and her daughter, Rose Yakamuk. So her daughter's name is Rose. So it's Rosa and Rose. Okay. A longtime Tom's River resident are regular customers of this shop. Late last year, they gifted a blanket to another employee who had just given birth to a girl. So I'm going to share this. This is, you got to see this woman. I mean, this is a really cool thing. Let's see. There we go. I will share this. This is Rosa Jakamuk. As you can see, that's the name. That's her. Good for her. You know, it's made from love. Constantino said it's made. That's cool. I mean, this woman lost the feed. There we go. And she's got Parkinson's. It says here she's got Parkinson's disease, which causes her right hand to shake. How cool of a story this is. If you watch this and you live in Tom's River and you know this woman, give her a hug. Give her a hug for me. This is a beautiful story. You know, I can only hope that more people are like this and like Rosa. You know, this is something that to try to do yourself down the road. For me, this is one of those things. This is something to look forward to. This is the pay it forward that people do, that everybody does, and I got to say this is a cool story. So, don't really have too much else this weekend. We're getting close to an hour. Like I said, let me not stop sharing. There we go. So, like I said, if you like what you see, you like what you hear. Yeah, I still got this in the background. So, and this will get cleaned up as soon. I talked to a couple people that do watch, my soon-to-be brother-in-law Colin, and this will get cleaned up. I do promise you that this will be a different look, hopefully down the road. And next couple weeks, like I said, next Monday will probably be the next episode, more than likely. It's going to be getting a little bit crazier with sports, and in my life, I got bowling tournaments, which I got to apply for. Probably do that as soon as I talk to you guys. But like I said, hit the subscribe button. I got a lot more to say. Hopefully you all at some point can tune in at 8:00 when I do these. I know a lot of people are watching Raw, and I get that. There are those WWE guys that are watching Raw, and you can watch this later. And I'm sure some of my coworkers will probably watch this later as they're going to bed. Not like they don't already hear me during the day, but anyway, it's been I feel a better talk, and I hope to do this more down the road. Talk to you guys soon. Have a good week.